We have talked about drought, and we've talked about food shortages. I have been saying for weeks that this winter is going to be really difficult, and we will have food shortages. The normal process for getting beans from a farm and into processing facilities is usually quite simple. Farmers grow the crops, then they harvest the crops. In most places in the Midwest, each farmer drives their harvest to the Mississippi River, and they're loaded up in barges to transport them downriver to be processed. It's very efficient, and most farmers are already near the Mississippi River anyway, because the farmland is fertile and have an accessible water supply that almost never runs dry. Except for when it does. They use barges instead of trains and trucks for lots of reasons. It's way cheaper, and each barge can carry a whole lot of beans or other cargo. But it's different this year. Been saying that a lot. Everything seems to be different this year. The Mississippi is extremely dry, and the water levels are low. They're so low, in fact, that barges can't be loaded to full capacity. Some parts of the river just reopened. They were closed because the water level was just too low, even for flat-bottom barges to move safely. It appears the river is open now, but limited traffic in some areas, according to a Coast Guard report. Right now, it's bean harvesting season. The farmers did their job, and they grew the beans, and they brought them to the river for transportation. But this happened. You see that giant white mountain? Those are beans waiting to be picked up. There aren't enough barges. The barges can only take a partial load, and everything is getting a little further behind every day. Now those beans are on the ground, which could be fine because beans come from the ground. But if they get wet after they are harvested, they'll start rotting almost immediately. And that rot will run through that mountain of beans faster than you can imagine. Well, what if they don't get wet? Maybe they have a couple days, couple weeks without rain. What if they only get infested with bugs or mice? I don't even want to think about it. Now that pile of beans is outside Memphis, Tennessee. But here's another one in Tunica, Mississippi. Farmers on Twitter are saying these piles are in Ohio, Illinois, Mississippi. They're basically everywhere. They could start sending them by truck. As soon as they source several hundred trucks and drivers. Many, if not most, truckers already have routes and loads planned. They're booked. And it's not like 1,000 trucks can just be conjured out of thin air. So if a farmer is lucky enough to get his crop on a barge, well, the bad news just keeps coming. Because of the shortage, barge prices are way up. According to this chart, the standard price over the last 20 years for shipping freight on a barge was between $10 and $20 per ton. See, it's way cheaper than truck freight prices. But something happened in 2022. I seem to be saying that a lot lately also. Some call it transitory inflation. Some call it Bidenomics or Build Back Better. But shipping prices went up over 400%. And right now they're about $90.44 per ton. But that's only if you can find a barge that will accept your shipment. Now this reminds me of a scene in my favorite book, Atlas Shrugged. If you haven't read it, please add it to your reading list. But skip the movie, it's almost unwatchable. Anyway, the basic premise is that a fictitious country is run by a power-hungry government, and they're literally trying to control every part of every business. It's clearly a take on capitalism versus communism. But the communist government eventually takes control of the trains, and they end up giving special favors to friends of the government. So they run all the trains to Florida for a grapefruit special, instead of letting the market decide where the trains need to go. Predictably, millions of pounds of wheat and grains rot in the Midwest because they don't have transportation. The book paints a picture of mountains of wheat sitting in the train yard rotting while waiting for trains. This book was published in 1957, but I swear it is foretelling today's events with stunning accuracy. I urge you to read it. I won't tell you how the book ends. I won't ruin it for you. But you better read it quickly, because it seems to be playing out in real life. I don't think we have much time left. Now, if you haven't heard this story from another source, that's great. I am so glad I could share it with you. It'd be great if you could like and subscribe so I can share more with you at another time. So I got another video coming later, so I'll see you soon.